or 180. Welcome to week 3 of our class. I'm sitting outside again. Hopefully the kids over there are playing basketball and the wind isn't too loud. This week we're going to talk about short stories again. We did very classic traditional short stories last week. This week they're much more contemporary. One of them was written in the 60s, but other than that I think they're all much more new than that. In fact, one set of them was just published in 2014 in January. So you're going to read through those. One of the things we want to concentrate on this week is getting to know the authors. Who are these people? Since they are all very new, it's very likely you'll run across them again at some point. You'll see them. It's good to know who they are. None of them, as far as I know, are Christian, which might play into one of the activities we do a little bit later in the class or in the week. So keep that in mind. There is language in these, adult language, so to speak. I want you to look at that. Tell me what you think. How do we read that as a Christian? How do we deal with that? It's not super profane or anything, but you get the idea. They're definitely a little bit more racy than the ones that we looked at last week. I read through them all the other day and left feeling quite depressed, and I realized I must have a very sad life or taste in stories because there's not a lot of happiness. So I apologize for that with them. I ended on something a little bit brighter, a little bit lighter. The last pieces will be. So you're going to first of all read a short essay in the New York Times about short stories. How are they different from novels? What are they trying to do? I don't know if you ever tried to write a short story or a novel for that matter. Writing a short story can be really tough because in 7 to 15 pages, double spaced, you're trying to tell a complete story, and that sometimes can be more difficult than writing an entire novel where you have hundreds of pages in which to tell the story. So you're going to start with the Joyce Carol Oates story. Joyce Carol Oates she's like 76, 75, something like that. She's alive and kicking. She's still writing. She writes about a book a year. This is one of her most well-known short stories. It's called Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? It was made into a movie, I think in the 80s with Laura Dern. I've not seen it. You could look it up, check it out. I hear it's horrible, an awful adaptation, but you never know. So you're going to read that, and there's a couple little videos to go along with that. I will let you know if you watch the audio for the Joyce Carol Oates, don't watch the video at the same time because it's flashing words and lights, and it can probably give you an aneurysm. Then you're going to look at Louise Erdrich, and she has a short story called Red Convertible. Louise Erdrich's a really interesting lady. I think she lives in Minneapolis. She owns a bookstore there, so you could go to that. She's an award-winning author. Her book, The Roundhouse, either won the National Book Award or came really close, I think, 2 years ago, and it's a phenomenal book if you're looking for a good book. Then there's Tobias Wolff. Oh, you're going to get some visitors. This will be fun. Tobias Wolff, you're going to read A Bullet in the Brain. Maybe the most disturbing of the stories. And got see, there's one visitor. So you're going to read that when you watch the videos. There's quite a bit of things to do with it. There's an analysis piece as well to kind of look at how do we figure out, what's the story about? What are we learning? Okay, stop. And the last piece is actually 3 very short pieces by B.J. Novak. You may know him. He was on The Office. He's been in TV shows and movies. They're kind of silly. I'm interested to see what you think. It's very current. It was published in 2014, January. So read through those. There's some great audio. They're very short. Listen to the audio. They're narrated by actors and actresses and also B.J. Novak, which may give a different feeling to them. Excuse me. So read through those. What I'd like you to do kind of as an upload activity this week is to kind of think about how do we as Christians respond to these stories. You can pick one of them. This assignment's very open-ended. I'm not looking there's not a right or a wrong answer. I'm interested in knowing what you think. These stories are not particularly Christian. How do we respond to them? What do we do with them? Do we not read them? What do we take away? So think about that, write about that for about a page, double spaced. Like I said, I'm not looking for any particular answer. I'm more interested to hear what you have to think. You know the Dort stuff. You've been there, you've done that. What do we do with it? How do we respond? talk to me about that for a little bit. This week you're going to have to start your short story analysis paper. That will be due June 16, which is the end of next week, the end of week 4. So you really should get a start on it this week. You'll need to take 2 of the short stories we've read. You can pick any of the ones you want. They don't have to be from separate weeks. They can be both from the same week. If you have another story that you're particularly interested in that we didn't cover, shoot me an email, let me know, just so I know what we're looking at here. So you're going to pick 2 of them. This week you need to start thinking about, what do you want to say about them? You're going to compare and contrast them. How are they alike? How are they different? Just a minute. Sorry about that. Not very professional. So you're going to talk about how they're alike, how they're different, but I don't want you to compare and contrast every single aspect of the story. You'll never finish. Maybe look at villains from two different stories. Just a minute, you're being very rude. You could look at the theme. You could look at how the endings are alike or how they're different. You could look at symbols. You could look at dialogue. So kind of narrow it and look at maybe 1 or 2 aspects of the story and try to figure out why that's important. What does that do to our story? Start thinking about that. You don't need to have outside references, but that would be perfectly fine if you did. So feel free to use the Dorrit Library. If you're stuck, you're not sure what to write about, shoot me an email. Let me know. You could even send me a text message. That's worked out well. I know, right? So work on that paper. Start getting that done. And then if you haven't done a personal response yet, see if you can do that this week. That should be due by June 9. And look over the guidelines for that. Basically, you're writing me an email responding, and there's guidelines under the course documents about how to do that. So the big things this week, read the 4 pieces. The 1 piece actually has a couple little ones involved. Read the 4 pieces, Google the authors, look at the attached videos and articles, go through all that, and then start really thinking about your paper. I have that you should spend maybe 4 hours on your compare and contrast paper. Think of it as you should probably get about halfway done this week on it, and then next week you can finish it up and edit it. And then your personal response. That's, once again, don't kill yourself on it. I'm more interested in what you have to say than there being a right or a wrong answer. You'll do a discussion board again this week like you've done. I've been very pleased with what you have done. And there's a short quiz on the items, just plot-based stuff, which is more to get you a sense of, have I read it? Do I know what it's talking about? Can I differentiate between these stories? I should say all these authors are American. So, Courtney, I apologize. I actually had a Canadian author, one moment, in the mix, but there's too much to do this week. So, they're all contemporary American authors, and hopefully you find something you like. Once again, if you have any questions or you run stuck, please let me know, and we'll see you again next week. And I apologize for these naughty kids. I'm going to pretend they're not mine.